So next we're going to be moving on to some envelopes. And the first envelope that I'm going to do is an envelope in which I take the flat paper, which is this, and this. And I am going to, as you can see, I have printed these on vellum. Now I get my vellum from Michael's. They have a package of 100 for like $13, which I think is really a good value. I'm going to go ahead and cut these out and cut this out. And the other page that I'm going to use is this page. So I'm going to cut those out. The other thing, I'm going to take these two pages together, and I do want to make them a little bit shorter because I found that when I make these envelopes and they remain the same size as the pages, that they stick out a little bit more than I would like them to. And so I am going to cut them down. So I'm going to cut them down at the same time, and that way they are both the same size. Okay, so the first cut is I want to cut a little bit off the top, and I'm going to cut a 1/2 inch off. So we're going to cut this to 10 inches. And I'm going to save these because I can use them in my journal. And then I'm going to go to the bottom, and I'm going to take off, I don't know, maybe another 3/4 of an inch. So that would put me at 9 3/4 of an inch. And see, aren't those pretty? Those can be used as like washi in my journal. So I have that cut apart. I am going to ink the edges of these. I'm going to pause the camera and go ahead and cut these out, and I'm going to ink the edges of everything. And one of the things that I do like to do when I print on vellum, before I do any inking, I like to allow the paper to dry. And if you don't let it dry, it's going to smudge. The ink will smudge when you add your ink dauber to it. So I let it dry, maybe 5 minutes at least. Honestly, I like to let it sit for like an hour just to be safe, because I have had pages smear. So I'll go ahead and ink those, and then we'll come back. When I cut this one out, this is a little too long for what I want it to be used for. And so I am going to cut it right to about the bottom of that light rose. So that would be around 3 1/4 inches. I'm going to save that to use in my journal. And there I have that piece. And just so you know, you do need 2 of the flat pages, not just 1. So I have my 2 flat pages cut out, and I have inked the edges of each of these, and I'm just going to set those aside for the moment. This one, remember, I cut down to 3 1/4 inches instead of the full length, because these pages won't be as large as the regular pages from the journal. So I have this one. Now, if you'll notice, there is writing on this, and whenever I work with writing, I like to make sure that it is right side up. So for now, I am going to set it right side up. I'm going to set this one on top of it, okay? And I want the top of the page to be to the right. And I'm just going to kind of bring this down. I am going to make a mark 4¼ inches from the side on the top of both of these pages. And I've already done that. You can see it here. I used a little pencil and I went in maybe less than 1/4 inch on both of them. And next, I'm going to take both of these together. Now, if you don't have vellum, you could use tracing paper, or you could just print this on the regular paper and make one with paper. It doesn't matter. I have here a 1½ inch circle, and when I have found that when I punch vellum, yeah, it can be a little finicky. And so I'm going to punch both of these together and see if that works any better. I want to be able to see where I am. And I'm just going to make my notch for my pages. And I'm going to go in about that much. And there we go. That worked a lot better. Okay, so I have my notches. Now, I'm going to take this page and I'm going to turn it over this way. Yes, we're going to start with this one, because that's the hard one to remember. My writing is, oh, we need to crease the flaps. Let me get my scoreboard. It's a lot easier to do when I have it already scored. So we want to do that first. We are scoring at 1¾ inches, just like we did when we made the cover of the journal. And when I score on vellum, I actually should have turned this way. And I'm going to redo this, okay, to make it easier to fold inward. So I have my first score, and where's the second one? There it is. I'm going to turn it upside down, and my second one is scored at 1¾ inches. Okay, so I'm going to gently fold this over, hopefully matching my corners, because this corner here with this one, because sometimes the vellum doesn't want to really fold that easily. So I kind of do a gentle finger press to make sure that it's good, and then I'll use my bone folder to press it. Line up my edges and go ahead and go. Okay, so as I said, you can use tracing paper for this, or paper. When you use vellum, vellum doesn't typically like glue. I've heard it said that you can use art glitter glue and it works really well with it, but I'm going to be sewing this, and so I'm okay with using the vellum. If I weren't going to sew it, I would probably option for the tracing paper instead, because the glue, the bond will be a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm gonna open that up, take one of these and set it aside. So here I have this. The writing is up. I want to turn the page over because we want it to be the outside of the page. These pages are going to go together like this. I want the notches going the opposite way. So here's this notch and here's this notch, okay? So this is the front of the paper, because otherwise the writing would be not as pronounced. And this is up. I make sure it's up. So I have a notch here and I have a notch here. What is going to happen is this is going to be the body of the envelope, and we're going to take this flap and we're going to add it here, and it's going to come over like this. So that's how I know that I want this flap on the back. I'm going to set this aside where the notch is not. And I'm going to take this paper here and I'm going to match it up with this seam about 1/4 inch away, and make sure my edges at the top and the bottom are straight. And I am going to take just a little bit of glue and I am going to run along this end right here. So I'm going to start here. I should have cleaned out my glue before I got this ready. I'm gonna start here, like that, and move my glue to the outside. And I'm gonna do the same at the top. If the glue comes, there we go. So, well, there we are. So now this is the 3-in-1 glue. Beacon 3-in-1, I think it is. Oops, see, it's a little off there. I want to fix that. Now this glue doesn't stay really well, but it will be fine for now. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to take and I'm going to sew like 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and I'm going to sew down. But what I want to do is when I sew it, I want to sew it from this side. And I can still see where my line is there, and it will be 1/8 of an inch just inside that. I want to make sure to catch that. Okay, so that's the only thing we're going to do right now. We're going to sew down that line. Now we're also going to take this one and this one. So let me turn this back over so we can put this on. So this would be here and here, and this would go here. So on this one, the flap is going to go here. Where's my flap? The flap is going to go here. Whoops. I have lost a flap. There it is. And it's going to be folding around the other side. So we have one there and one there. So I'm going to go ahead and match those up, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this so I can sew them both at the same time. Now if you weren't going to sew and you were using regular paper or tracing paper, I would glue along this edge also. I would glue here, and then I would glue here and here when I make this flap. If I'm sewing, I'm not going to bother with that glue because it's not really going to stay in place and it would be a waste. So I can tell you that 3-in-1 does not bond with vellum very well. It will come apart in time, and that's why I'm going to sew it. Just move this out of the way so I can see. Yes, that's even, and that's even. Okay, so there we have the glue part done. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and sew this line, and I'm going to sew here, and I'm going to sew here. Okay, as you can see, I have sewn down the edge of this, and I like to kind of press my sewing into the seam. I like to flip it over. You'll notice it's not as pretty on the back, and I like to sew it into the seam like that. Now since this is on vellum, and sewing can sometimes create issues for working with putting things in pockets. They kind of get stuck on them. I have some just regular cellophane clear tape, and I'm just going to put this on that sewing line. I'm going to keep it on this portion, not on the flap, because I really don't want it to be seen much. Now I stopped the tape before I came to the edge. On this side I did not, and I do not like to sew through tape with my sewing machine, so I'm just going to peel that back a little and cut it off to where I believe that line will be. Okay, so I have the first one done. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this one. Okay, and typically you can't see it on the back, so that's good. Okay, so what happens next is we take these two pieces. This now goes over like this, and this goes over like this. Whoops. Something's wrong. Oh, okay. So, we're going to take the writing side and put it down on the ground. Ha! We're going to put this one here. Now this one is the notch, so the notch matches here, and we're going to line that up like that. And I am just going to tack this lightly. Since I'm using the 3-in-1 glue, I know that this is not going to stay long. Well, you just saw me pull it apart. But I do want to, I'm going to glue a little this way. And I'm going to glue a little bit this way. My glue's not coming out. That might be why it's not staying. I need to thin up my glue with some acetone still. Okay, so I have that there. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to do the same thing down here, just along the edge. And you might be wondering why I'm doing this. If you're using paper or you're just gluing, do not glue the whole piece just yet. We're just kind of doing a temporary hold for now, just to see where our fold is going to be. So this goes like this, and this goes like this. And now we bring these two edges together, and we do a fold across here. This is going to be my fold, okay? And all I did was finger press it for now. Okay, we're going to take this apart again. Whew, this time it sticks. Okay, because we really don't want it to stick. At this time, we are going to turn this over to where we have the outside showing, and we are going to be putting our pocket here. And our pocket goes, this is the top, so if you have writing, you want it to be near your notch, and that goes there. I want to kind of center it in the page here, but I want it in the lower portion, a little more room up at the top. So it's going to go there. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm actually going to use glue on the entire piece. I really need to thin my glue. So there we have it. Okay. So again, turn it over, bring it down to where it's supposed to be, and center it on there, and glue it in place. Now I like to take this and bring this over here so I can kind of see that it's in the center, and I can see that here and here, that's pretty good, so I'm good with that for that one. Now we're going to do this one. And I'm going to do the same thing. Glue the edges of it and the bottom. Make sure it's facing the notches at the top. And I'm going to put this in, and this is where I have trouble centering this one. So again, I'm going to use this as my measuring to see kind of if it's the same, and it needs to come down a little. There we go. Perfect. Okay, and now I'm going to sew along here, 1/4 inch to here to here, and I'm going to do that on both of those pages. So now we have our flaps in and our pockets on. At this point, we've just put together the 2 pages, and to do that, we have to turn one over. Again, I am going to take my, I can put my glue pin back in. Hold on. And set that aside. Again, I am going to use my tape on my sewing edges on the inside. So I have that one there. And press it down really good. I'm going to clip the inner thread. I'm going to do the same here. Oh, I think I made that one too long, but it's okay. No one's going to see it. It's going to be on the inside. Oh, I almost had enough for that. I'm going to do a little bit more just to... okay. I'm going to come to the outside and I'm going to go over those stitches. And there we have that. So now I want to do the same with this one. Now, if I were doing this on paper, I would not do that. I would take a little bit of my glue and I would go right here at the edge of my sewing and just to lock the stitches in place. But the glue won't stick on the vellum, and that's why I use the tape. Also, that keeps all my ephemera and stuff that I'm going to put in here from catching on these stitches. And that's the reason I do that. Okay, so now it's time to put our envelope together completely. And let's see, this is the back. I want the writing up. The writing is up. I'm just going to flip it over, and there's my back piece. This is going to go here. So I am going to slide that up a little. I want, since I've already creased these, I kind of want that crease to match. So I've kind of lined up the crease, and now I'm going to glue this edge. I should have had my glue ready because it's taken a little while. So I'm just going to go along that edge to there, not going over. Leave that there. Get my fold right. And glue across here. There we go. Turn it around and glue across the same. Okay, now I want to make sure that these are lined up pretty good, and they are. So my next thing is I am going to sew from here to here, and it's to where the paper ends. I'm not going all the way up. Kind of make a so we're just sewing here and here at about 1/4 of an inch. Put my glue stick back in. Okay, so as you can see, I have sewn across here. I did a locking stitch at the beginning and the end, and I have sewn along here and also done a locking stitch at the beginning and the end. Now your threads, you can leave long or short or whatever you wish to do. I always like to leave a little bit on my pocket. I think it looks pretty, and I'll do that. But I personally don't care for the thread sticking out of my journal, but that's completely up to you. I'm gonna leave a little bit on those. Okay, so there we have our page. This flap goes here, this flap goes here, and this becomes our page. We're gonna go ahead and crease that center port. Now, one of the things that I did not do and I should have done was a lot of times I like to use a little bit of tape inside my vellum where the crease is, just to give it a little durability, but I think it'll be fine. This thread needs to be cut a little, and this one is okay. Okay, so let me throw away those threads. I have a lot of them hanging around now. And we can add this to our pages. And isn't it just lovely? So where are we gonna put it? I think I want it towards the center. So let me just bring this over here. I think I'm gonna put it here. Oh, isn't that just lovely? So the thing that I did not do yet is I did not ink the edge of this, and I want to do that now. And I'll do it on the back also. So here we have it. We have the front, we have a little pocket here, and we have a pocket here to put, our little pieces of ephemera that we haven't used yet, or whatever we want to put in there. And then when we turn this over, we have a larger piece where we can put something here. And then on the other side, let me go to this one. You have this one the same, and this one the same, and it's made out of vellum or tracing paper, or even regular paper, which would still be just as lovely. So I'm happy with that. Next, I'm going to do a CD envelope pocket. So join me for that tomorrow. And I hope you have a wonderful day.